and I heard a hiss bang. The spacecraft rocked back and forth. The jet started a fire to stabilize the spacecraft. I looked up at Fred, and Fred looked down at me, and I knew that Fred didn't know what caused this bang. Then I looked over at our third companion, Jack Swikert. He was over there in the left seat, and his eyes were as wide as saucers.
Unknown to the crew at the time, an electrical short circuit sparked a fire in the oxygen tank's protective covering, causing the tank to explode with such force that it blew a huge panel off the service module. The explosion also ruptured the backup oxygen tank.
We had a problem here.
Question in a dialogue went kind of like this between Arnie and I. He says, John, there's been some kind of an anomaly here, and the guys in the mission control team are chasing it because it seems to be a bunch of unrelated things.
And very shortly, we'd be completely out of oxygen, and we'd be completely out of electrical power. And when that occurred, because we gimbaled our maneuvering engine by means of electricity, we would lose our propulsion system.
I remember summarizing to him at the end of that conversation, Arnie, I don't know what problem you're chasing out there, but it's a real problem. It's not an instrumentation problem. That problem is real.
The mission was lost, and these astronauts were in a broken-down spacecraft almost 200,000 miles from Earth, going in the wrong direction, and had no idea how or if they were going to come home.
We needed time to think. We needed time to establish a plan. We needed time to figure out what was going wrong, what had gone wrong, and then we needed time to figure out what we were going to do about it. So basically, the first activity we had was to buy time.
We all went to mission control and ended up in mission control, all the backup crew. And for the first 10 or 12 hours, in my memory, as I recall it, it looked grim, and we weren't going to make it.
So the conclusion was either we weren't going to make it or we're going to do this in such a different way, in a way that we never thought of before. That was the only two possibilities.
We had the Russians. We were right in the middle of the Cold War, and the Russians came in and they offered the services of any ships they had to help us out. I mean, I can get misty about that time and place, because it was just a getting together to save somebody, and that's what it was about.
And we worked solid for 35 hours, and the more we worked, the better it began to look. And so I think within the first 24 hours, about the time they were arriving at the moon, I had a piece in my heart that we were going to make it. Unless some other major catastrophe happened, we were going to make it.
The place was like the inside of a refrigerator. And for them to sustain that for as many days as they did, I think was a real test of their physical stamina. You could have heard a pin drop in that control center. I mean, it was just quiet as it could be. Only the Capcom every once in a while calling, Apollo 13, this is Houston. Apollo 13, this is Houston, do you read? Finally, about something like 4.5 minutes of total blackout. I think it was Jack. It may have been Jim, but it may have been Jack Swagger. Hello, Houston, this is 13, how do you read?
We went into space as a country in response to a major challenge. We went there to learn about space, we went there to learn about ourselves, we went there to explore, we went there to be able to go out beyond that even. In that context, I would view that in terms of opening up space, in terms of being confident in our ability to do things, Apollo 13 was really a tremendous success.